Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Howard Nima. Thank you for watching Truth Talk News. With all of the events going on in the world and all of the transformation that is occurring, I thought that it would be appropriate to discuss some of the history of where, or I should say why, we are where we are today. The world is not as it seems. There are certainly elements in control of much of the infrastructure and elements that control our pop culture and our thoughts, basically. It is called social control. I'm going to show a video in a little while by Yuri Bezmenov, who was a defector, who was a specialist in propaganda and changing culture. And this is from 1984. I was a junior in high school at the time. And remembering how the world was in my eyes in those days, as a kid, I was a typical teenager. I have no knowledge of what was going on or how the world was run or any of these things, of course. And certainly was playing the game of the Illuminati controllers. And looking back at this video, it becomes apparent that we are here today due to this, what Yuri, who was a Soviet defector, called, and again, communism was still in full force. In fact, the CIA had backed a guy named Osama bin Laden, codenamed Tim Osman, to help fight the Soviets at the time during the Afghan-Soviet War. Their little Vietnam, and then we had one. Anyway, all the events that have occurred are the results of the secret societies of the Order of the Quest at the top of the pyramid, working in concert to bring about this one world government. The Illuminati, who created the concepts of both fascism, socialism, communism, same thing, communism, socialism, the ideologies, and co-opted the movements, the labor movement, the Workers' Party movement, and the bankers funded both sides of the war, World War II and World War I, of course, and they funded the Bolshevik Revolution, the bankers, these Illuminati bankers at the top. And the fact of the matter is that we are here today because these ideologies, you know, while we all think that communism fell with the fall of the Berlin Wall, did it really? Of course not, because we still have communism. We have Cuba, we have Venezuela, we have many countries that are communist, and America is soon to become one if we don't do something about it. But communism isn't the right word, because it really should be called Illuminism, because that is what this matrix is. It is the Illuminati's 10 planks that were put into place to crush all of the monarchies of Europe and the religions of the world, and instill this one world government under their control, this Luciferian order, who literally, ladies and gentlemen, worship the mystery school religions and believe that Lucifer is the one and only true God. Okay? He is the light bearer, and their symbols are everywhere. This is not a conspiracy theory, though they do their best to malign the truth and to distort the truth and to discredit people speaking the truth, and especially those in power. They'll get rid of them. You know, the list is long of people who have tried to kill this order, to destroy it. Collectively, as a people, we can, if we know who our enemy is. And the Council on Foreign Relations is a good start. The United Nations, the Bilderberg Group, all of these controlled organizations, filtered through an alliance between the United States government and the British Empire, a secret alliance which includes, of course, the fact that Israel is British. I mean, it's basically the Rothschilds, the British arm of the Rothschilds, own 85% of Israel. And part of this whole reasoning is because the Illuminati are of a group in that region known as the Roshania, also known as the Assassins, where you had, that's where hashish came from the Assassins, And the word assassin comes from from this group. Now, the Rashaniya, who I believe are behind the Muslim Brotherhood alliance with our government and the New World Order intentions, which now we see that we are pitting radical Islam. Henry Kissinger now has stated that that radical Islam is getting in the way because they can control it to a certain degree, but these people are really radical, and they're going on their own, and they want a world caliphate, and that is not just some story. It's not an illusion like Tim Osman and Osama bin Laden. It's not a fairy tale like being buried at sea in Muslim tradition, and no pictures of the body and all these other niceties that we're supposed to believe when Obama tells us you can keep your own doctor, you don't have to change your insurance if you like it. And there's a reason for this. There's a mind-controlled persuasion of this. Now, I don't want to get too off topic because it is related to this Illuminism, which is communism, fascism, it's all part of it. The Brotherhood of Death, which is the Skull and Bones. We've had four presidents that were Skull and Bones. William Howard Taft was Skull and Bones. Both of the Bushes were Skull and Bones. And trying to remember the fourth. Anyhow, I think there might have been even more. At least three, and I named them. So this group that works together, the Skull and Bones, the Bilderberg group, it's all through the Masonic fraternities and all of the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, the CIA, all of these major corporations and institutions are working to facilitate this collectivism, destroying small business, having pretty much ultimately one day, just like these movies that they promote, which are really truly just visions of the future, predictive programming, is where you're going to have one major supplier of everything. So whatever it is that you need, there would only be one supplier, no competition. Competition will be destroyed. Property will be destroyed. The communist planks, the 10 planks of communism, the abolition of property rights. First thing, of course, a central bank. Abolition of property rights is really number one. And they're doing that here. We were living through this. And it's very interesting to show this video, which is only about 10 minutes, 13 minutes long, something like that. And it truly illustrates how far into the New World Order and into this Illuminism, into this deception that we are. And of course, the people at the top are always eating big. I mean, these people that are supposed to be helping us, give us freedom and liberty and jobs and a step up and all of this rhetoric, bullshit, are all making millions and millions of dollars as everyone's making less and less. And this has been going on for 60 years, directly as a result of these programs that they put into place and all of these trade deals like NAFTA, GATT, I can go on and on with the trade deals and the lies. Now we have the illegal immigrants. Again, just the usurping of the Constitution, destroying the Constitution, which Edward Mandell House called the vile Constitution, that they've been trying to eat at this thing. They put a central bank in the country in 1913. This has been going on a long time. Slowly they cut. It's death by 1,000 cuts, ladies and gentlemen, and we're getting pretty close to the end of this. We're either going to wake up to it or end up awakening in the worst enslavement in the world if we don't at least advise our children and the generations to come what's going on here. Could it happen in our time, the crushing of it all? I believe it will. I believe they are truly deindustrializing this country, and their plan is to ultimately do that and create a neo-feudal system. But they might just do it peacefully, and it could take 20 years. But as Yuri Bezmenov mentioned, it takes 20 years just to develop the resistance that we now feel. And people have been coming to the resistance probably since 9/11, realizing that our rights are being taken away, and even the kids the college kids that supported Ron Paul. Ron Paul, for whatever one wants to say about all him, like him or hate him or call him whatever you want to say, the establishment hated him, and they kept him out. And that's clear and obvious. They rigged elections. They gave him no time. They're blatant in their deception, and they should be and could be, because the people aren't really aware of it. And that's the hugest part of the deception. And it goes back to these mystery school religions that they worship. It truly is like a spell. It's like a magic spell, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a joke. This isn't fantasy. This isn't fabrication. This isn't fiction. This is 100% truth. And this is what's happening. Now, I challenge you to research these things and find your own truth, as I always do in all my broadcasts. I say this, and you will, because it's verifiable. And here's a little piece of verifying material that I think you will all incredibly appreciate. This is a KGB defector Yuri Bezmenov's Warning to America from 1984. It's an excerpt from a video, from an interview with G. Edward Griffin.
Well, you spoke several times before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets use the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. There is nothing to do with espionage. I know that espionage intelligence gathering looks more romantic. It sells more deodorants through the advertising, probably. That's why your Hollywood producers are so crazy about James Bond type of thrillers. But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid of society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place, and
Yes.
who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. Obviously they will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be the greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed.
See, he was talking about the liberals right there, those that have the ideologies, oh, this beautiful world we can make, you know, the left. He's talking about all of these wonderful programs and all of these wonderful things they can do, like Obamacare and No Child Left Behind and all of these ways to help. And now there's this crazy bitch, she wants to actually, she says that parents, that people, generally people, don't know how to eat. They have to be told what to eat. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I mean, it's just like, it's micromanagement to the extreme. But look at this. See how it's fallen into place with everything that's happened so far. I mean, wouldn't you agree that up to now, it's just startling how revealing this information is to what's currently going on today. And I'll break this down after the video. I have a whole list here. But yeah, let's hear her back. Go back here a second and hear him again. I'm sorry.
In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be the greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years. Actually, it's overfulfilled because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents.
You see, that's what we have to battle here. This is what we're battling. This is what all the people in the truth community, all the people that are awake and have done the work and the research and are trying to wake other people up, this is what we're fighting against. We're fighting against this resistance, this psychological resistance, this belief system resistance, this mind-controlled resistance that has been bred into us, that when the truth is told, it is ridiculed as if it's fictional, as if it's ridiculous, as if it's insane. But they always say that truth is certainly stranger than fiction. And in this case, it's absolutely true. Okay, let's keep going here.
Tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures. Even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. So basically America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, it doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation.
And this is where we are today, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Obama nation. Listen very closely. 2 to 5 years. Listen. And where the hell have we come?
It's what matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see.
We are talking about what's going to be going on here in this country, ladies and gentlemen. This is no joke. I mean, does this resonate? I hope it resonates. I hope that you can break through the matrix and awaken to the lies and see this. Okay, again, I'm just astounded as much as you. I've watched this many times, but it rings so true. Rings so true. What's happened to this country? How we've moved so far away from the Constitution. How the Constitution, which is the solution, and the one thing that is being not looked at all, as all these problems and troubles happen, and all these other ideas to change, moving us away from constitutional Republican government into this socialism. And ultimately, the socialism will become totalitarianism. And ultimately lead to fascism and oppression. We're already there almost. I mean, the people, why do you think they want everyone to be high? Legalize the drugs. Yeah, let everybody smoke pot. Let them all party and not pay attention to what's going on. That's the way they think about it. I mean, I know plenty of people out there, that are lawyers and doctors that smoke pot anyway. So it's not like it's, that's the fact of the matter. It's the truth. In fact, I know a couple of doctors that smoke pot. So, but my point is, very true, that there's this demoralization. That's what's been going on. Moral values have been demoralized over the last, it just gets worse and worse. I mean, Miley Cyrus, all these crazy things. Okay, back to the specialist.
In Central America now, weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized." This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. He will go to Moscow to kiss the bottoms of new generation of Soviet assassins, never mind. He will create false illusions that the situation is under control. Situation is not under control. Situation is disgustingly out of control. Most of the American politicians, media, and educational system trains another generation of people who think they are living at a peacetime. False. United States is in the state of war, undeclared total war against the basic principles and the foundations of this system. And the initiator of this war is not Comrade Andropov, of course. It's the system. however ridiculous
It's
it
the
may sound,
Illuminati.
the world communist system.
It's
or
the
world
Illuminati
communist
system, the
conspiracy,
illuminated
whether I
system.
scare some people or not, I don't give a hoot. If you are not scared.
It is the Illuminati system. That is what he's describing. That is what it is.
The system, however ridiculous it may sound, the world communist system or the world communist conspiracy, whether I scare some people or not, I don't give a hoot. If you are not scared by now, nothing can scare you. But you don't have to be paranoid about it. What actually happens now, that unlike myself, you have literally several years to live on unless the United States wake up. The time bomb is ticking. With every second, the disaster is coming closer and closer. Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect to, unless you want to live in Antarctica with penguins. This is it. This is the last.
You know, and it's very true. In fact, my friend Janet Phelan, who is an investigative journalist and author of the book Exile. Everyone should get that book, by the way. Go to thebookpatch.com and check out Exile. It's an amazing book. In the coming weeks, I'm going to be doing some a review of it, of course, and also some excerpts from it. It's just an incredible story. But that is the key element here that we're talking about, is this transformation that we're going under here. So I just wanted to, you know, again, listen to this.
Country of freedom. This is it. This is the last country of freedom and possibility.
The last country of freedom and possibility. I wanted to make sure I had that right. The last country. And do you know that almost 3,000 Americans have renounced their citizenship in the last year? And that banks in foreign countries are not accepting. This is in an article that she posted, Janet posted the other day, that are not accepting bank accounts in foreign countries from Americans. Do you know that? You're being locked into this country. While they're opening the borders, they're locking you in so you can't leave. They went from the fee being $450 to being $2,400. They don't want people to leave. And you can't bring your money with you if you leave. So you can leave, renounce your citizenship and everything, but they'll take 30% of your assets when you leave. There is nowhere to go, ladies and gentlemen. We must make a stand. This is something they just recently changed. Janet Phelan lives in Mexico and got out before they made these banking rules, and she was able to establish an account in Mexico. But nobody will be able to open a bank account overseas. They realize people are leaving, and if they do want to leave, they have to pay 30% of their wealth, of their assets, to exit our country. So this wonderful country that they say would be, oh, who wouldn't want to come to America? Let them come in. They won't let you come out. Think about that. What does that tell you? What does that say?
Okay, so what do we do? What is your recommendation to the American people?
Well, the immediate thing that comes to my mind is, of course, there must be a very strong national effort to educate people in the spirit of real patriotism, number one. Number two, to explain them the real danger of socialist, communist, whatever, welfare state, big brother government. If people will fail to grasp the impending danger of that development, nothing ever can help United States. You may kiss goodbye to your freedom, including freedoms to homosexuals, to prison inmate. All this freedom will vanish, evaporate in 5 seconds, including your precious lives. The second thing.
Before we talk about the second thing, this is important because, again, I have friends that are of the, you know, in the homosexual community, and you know, this whole concept that they're working the Illuminati plan to make, you know, marriage and all, call it marriage. It's all part of destroying religion. So I don't care what you think about your religion. I think all religions are corrupt and evil, and God, or whatever your belief is your own personal thing. But religions have been used to manipulate and control people for millions of, well, not millions, but since man's began, since Prometheus, the concept of Prometheus, the fire, since the very first flame. Remember that movie from 1982, The Quest for Fire? The idea of the illuminated ones, the flame, the fire, okay? He who found the first branch that was hit by lightning or whatever and burned and learned that he could make fire from that and keep the fire going had hidden knowledge, secret knowledge that made him like a priest or the elder or the priest of the community. And this has been going on since then. And this is how control has been done. This person has secret knowledge that is withheld from the basic population. And that is how technology moves, and that's why you're on the cartwheel, you're on the mouse wheel, unless, of course, you're inside or you're a bloodline family of the elite, the 13 ruling class families. Actually, it's total about 17 families, but really 13 are the top 13 evil families, the ones that are really manipulating this. And before he gets to his second point, I just wanted to make that very, very clear, that this is what we're dealing with. Okay? Excellent.
The moment at least part of the United States population is convinced that the danger is real, they have to force their government. And I'm not talking about sending letters, signing petitions, and all this beautiful, noble activity. I'm talking about forcing United States government to stop aiding communism. Because there is no other problem more burning and urgent than to stop the Soviet military-industrial complex from destroying whatever is left of the free world. And it is very easy to do.
See, the Soviet military-industrial complex is now the military-industrial complex of the Illuminati and working for all the destabilization in the world. All the world! That's why we have this mayhem. That's why we have the mayhem in Russia with Ukraine. That's why we have the mayhem in the Middle East. Constant mayhem, constant war, like Orwell said. George Blair. I should say George Orwell is actually Eric Blair, who was a intelligence officer. Again, people with inside information have proven to give a lot of truth out here. Time, history, the reason they want to throw everything down the memory hole is for you not to look back and to control the internet, is so you will not understand these truths, that you will not come to this conclusion that we are being annihilated, deindustrialized, depopulated, put into a neo-feudal serfdom by design.
No technology, no money, no political or diplomatic recognition, and of course no such idiocy as grain deals to USSR. The Soviet people, 270 millions of Soviets, will be eternally thankful to you if you stop aiding a bunch of murderers who sit now in Kremlin and whom President Reagan respectfully calls government. They do not govern anything, least of all such complexity as the Soviet economy. So basic, two very simple, maybe too simplistic answers or solutions, but nevertheless they are the only solutions. Educate yourself, understand what's going on around you. You are not living at the time of peace. You are in a state of war, and you have precious little time to save yourself. You don't have much time, especially if you are talking about young generation. There's not much time left for convulsions to the beautiful disco music. Very soon it will go, just overnight. If we are talking about capitalists or wealthy businessmen, I think they are selling the rope on which they will hang very soon. If they don't stop, if they cannot curb their unsettled desire for profit, and if they keep on trading with the monster of the Soviet communism, they are going to hang very soon. And they will pray to be killed, but unfortunately they will be sent to Alaska probably to manage industry of slaves. It's simplistic. I know it sounds unpleasant. I know Americans don't like to listen to things which are unpleasant. But I have defected not to tell you the stories about such idiocy as microfilm, James Bond type espionage. This is garbage. You don't need any espionage anymore. I have come to talk about survival. It's a question of survival of this system. You may ask me, what is it in for me? Survival, obviously, because unlike, as I said, I am now in your boat. If we sing together, we'll sing beautifully together. There is no other place on this planet to defect to.
And that's true. There is nowhere else to go. I mean, we're stuck. This is it. I mean, we are in a matrix that has been designed to enslave us. And look, let's talk about this. Now, what happened in 1984? Interestingly enough, that was 1984, talking about George Orwell. But in 1984, there was only 5 years until the Berlin Wall fell. Only 5 years. And of course, Reagan said his famous words, you know, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. All of this theater, and after all, he was an actor. All of this theater. The theater of the absurd. Because communism, as I mentioned earlier, never fell. And the people were, once communism fell, I remember, I'll tell you a brief story. I was completely asleep. I was completely patriotic about America. I was married in 1991. I witnessed the Gulf War as an early, I was married on April 13th, 1991. So the Gulf War was right there. And it was amazing. You know, we blew these guys up and all that. And I went to a New Year's Eve party in 1991, mentioning this whole thing again to a recent defect or a recent immigrant from a legal immigrant, by the way, from Russia, who spoke very fluent English. I was very impressed. At a rooftop party in Bayside, Queens, on Northern Boulevard, above a, I wonder if it's still there, like a flooring company that had a large property on the corner of the Clearview Expressway in Northern Boulevard. And they had a rooftop party. And we went to the party. I met this guy there. And he was complaining about America. He was complaining about America. And then I said, well, why don't you go back and stand in line for toilet paper? This is a land of opportunity where you can do anything you need to do. And because the reason he was struggling, and he didn't want to be on welfare, but he was, and he said, I have to take your welfare. This is no different. He said this, no different than the Soviet Union. And I mean, I lambasted him. I was mad. I remember that, and whole other people were too. And I just obviously got out of his face real quick, because even though I was a young man at the time, I certainly wasn't looking for an altercation. I was recently married. I figured I was trying to be a good guy. I mean, you know, I was still a rocker in the rock bands back then, and, you know, and had to worry about my hands. I always worry about my hands. I still do. Anyway, I was on the road at that time, playing gigs, and anyway, make a long story short, I look back at that and I wish that I could see that man again. I wish that I could talk to him again. I wish that I could say to him, you know something, I didn't understand what you meant because I was not informed. I didn't understand because I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the secret knowledge, the hidden knowledge. For this whole thing to work, these secret societies have to work in concert through their Masonic temples and the other Masonic lodges and the orders and the secret societies that move about in this world, this lexicon, that they understand their own languages and symbols and signs and everything else. And you have to say to yourself, man, these people are really, truly think they're doing the good thing for humanity, but they're purely evil. And then some of them wake up and come out of it. I mean, there are plenty of Masons that have come out against the Masonry, and that's why we know a lot of their secrets. That they worship Lucifer. That's the secret. That's the biggest secret of all. The son of the morning star. And they believe about Atlantis, the New World Order, Atlantis, the Atlanteans. I don't want to digress too much. But we are under this demoralization. We have a communist, Marxist, that will call you, everyone, if you go against him, you're a racist because of the way they've set this whole thing up. It is all Hegelian. It is all incredible manipulation, political perfectness. I don't know what else to call it. Absolute. It's like Steven Spielberg making a movie. Okay? For some reason, Steven Spielberg's movies, all of them, they are truly good films. He is an amazing filmmaker. And also, certainly a member of the order, large Masonic order. A large Masonic, sorry about that, it was a fly, it drives me nuts. A fruit fly. I like to squash them like to squash the Illuminati. And his films, he truly is good. And they choose people of this caliber and they put them under their wings and bring them under. It's a common ploy. And I don't want to get off topic, but it's a lot worse than anyone could ever imagine. We see the results of it. We see the suicides. We see the deaths. We see the murders. We see the overdoses. We see the drug culture. And they, oh, it's the drugs. It's the drugs. It's really not. There is an element in this that is just so much, again, too much for this particular time to go into on the broadcast. But we are enslaved by a system that's designed to keep us enslaved. Don't you ever notice that when minute you pay off something, if you bought a car or whatever, you paid everything off, all of a sudden they're offering you credit to buy something else? Or you pay off a refrigerator on time, they buy some more, pay off, credit. I mean, it's an enslaving system. My father's generation and the generations before didn't believe in payments. If you didn't have the money, you don't buy it. You save the money and you buy it. They've enticed us through advertising. Edward Bernays and his works. It's truly a mind control thing, and and these people are all, by the way, part of the mysteries. They are using mystery elements. I mean, don't you understand how the manipulations are not just because people are like you listen to somebody who has secret knowledge, conveying that knowledge using like the Socratic selling method, for example. I'll use that as an example. This is an example of the mysteries. W. Clement Stone created this system from combined insurance, and he was a Mason, a 32nd degree Mason. And one of the things that made him so successful was using something that, again, it's a secret that, they really sort of, he was a shrewd man. He didn't go against the Masonic principles about giving away secrets. He did believe that a lot of the things that were kept secret humanity should know. So I give him credit for that. But nonetheless, he was a Luciferian. His god was Lucifer. But he did help change the entire sales world by creating something or utilizing something that was created by Socrates. That's why it's called the Socratic method. And that method is using logic to sell. So technically, he really wasn't breaking the rules. He was just taking something that was used by Socrates and putting it into place. In other words, for example, wouldn't you agree that there is nothing better than having all that you could want in the world and nothing more? Who could say no to that? Well, that's how you get a yes. And isn't it true that if you had all the rice in China, that you could do the best for humanity? Well, yeah, sure. Another yes. So don't you see that by taking this product, you too can evolve your humanity to save the world? I'm just blowing this out of proportion, obviously, but that is what he did, and it's powerful, and it's manipulative. And if you're a good person, you can use it to good purpose. If you're bad, boy, you can screw a lot of people and make a lot of money, and a lot of people do. And if you're a Mason and you did a lot of screwing and you're messing people up and you're fucking people, hurting them, making them bad, other Masons will protect you. That's something else to know. But I digress, and I don't want to. This has been an interesting broadcast so far. I think I'm going to be going into some overtime tonight because there's still a lot to cover. The demoralization of America, Obamacare, everything else. In just a few moments, there'll be a short break, which is not really a break. I don't mean for you to necessarily, if you need to get a drink or go away to, use the facilities, please keep the broadcast on and listen, because the information that is contained in my breaks generally has not been seen by people on a normal state of affairs, as far as you don't hear about these type of things. This isn't like a commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. It's called a truth break. And we will be taking a truth break in, I guess just about a minute. So with that in mind, moving forward, I have in the second part of the show, or the remaining time that we will have together, I'm going to go over the Obama connection, media, mass media mind control, the IRS, executive orders, the free speech zones put into place, and how what Yuri Bezmenov said is really truly ringing true and coming true in this new world order. The Scientology movement, the Kabbalist movement. They're talking about the most religious people. Oh, Yahoo said the most religious people. I don't know if you've seen this on Yahoo. The most religious celebrities. The top three are 2 Scientologists and a Kabbalist, which is a mystery school. That's Madonna. So she's out there. I mean, they want us all to, again, embrace the new world religion. I'm Howard Nima. You're watching Truth Talk News. Stay tuned. A lot more truth coming your way.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
There's a need for a new world order, but it has different characteristics in different parts of the world.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order.
A world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order.
It's about the future of Europe and a new world order.
After 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
And the hope that each of us has to build a new world order.
capitalism had another far-reaching aim, nothing less than to create a world system of financial control in private hands, able to dominate the political system of each country and the economy of the world as a whole. This system was to be controlled in a feudalist fashion by the central banks of the world, acting in concert by secret agreement, arrived at in frequent private meetings and conferences. The apex of the system was the Bank of International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland, a private bank owned and controlled by the world's central banks, which were themselves private corporations. The growth of financial capitalism made possible a concentration of world economic control and use of this power for the direct benefit of financiers and the indirect injury of all other economic groups. Tragic to Hope, A History of the World in Our Time, Macmillan and Company, 1966, written by Professor Carol Quigley of Georgetown University.
Nothing sacred, nothing safe. We're all trapped.
That's my son on lead guitar, by the way.
Where money and power are all that matter. Where the poor go hungry and the rich get fatter. Nothing sacred, children dying. Nothing sacred, fathers crying. Nothing sacred, mothers wailing. Nothing sacred, our system failing. Nothing sacred, shame on the government. Nothing sacred, shame on us. Nothing sacred, shame on you and me. Nothing sacred, for not speaking up.
Media play, forever and a day, perpetuating false truths wherever they may. Find a few believers, such attractive deceivers, as the masses fetch the bone like golden retrievers. Such splendid bliss, who created this mess? Better stand your ground, and when you shoot, don't miss. Cause it's raining propaganda, and the facts don't really matter. In the game of win or lose, it's a game of corruption and power.
Nothing sacred, children dying. Nothing sacred, fathers crying. Nothing sacred, mothers wailing. Nothing sacred, our system's failing. Nothing sacred, shame on the government. Nothing sacred, shame on us. Nothing sacred, shame on you and me. Nothing sacred, for not speaking up. Why all the confusion? Why all the pain? Why all the madness? We are nothing to gain. Why believe all the lies that incite all this hatred? Have we no honor, or is anything sacred? Why do we bother when we fail to see all the deception, all the deceit? We can no longer debate it. Our lives are too sacred. Nothing sacred. Nothing sacred. Nothing sacred. Too much hatred. Nothing sacred. Nothing sacred.
I want to thank everyone for watching tonight. Just got about 15-20 minutes to go with stuff I'm going to be talking about. That was J.J. Williams and Liberty Bell on vocals. I played a little rhythm guitar on there, if you heard it, on the acoustic. And of course, my son Patrick on vocals. Check out Stream of Consciousness on consciousstream.com. Actually, it's youtube.com/consciousstream. And we are back. So we have all of these religions that they talk about. You know, we have the Scientology, the Kabbalah. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I lost the stream. I mean, I know I did. It took a long time to get back. I'm sorry. I hope you're all still there. I'll try to tie it all together for the YouTube upload I got to give out the sites. Yeah, we have 2 YouTube channels you must subscribe to. One is youtube.com/Freedom First Films. The other one is Truth Talk News Live, which is the rebroadcast of all this. Freedom First Films used to have the ability to put as long a video up as you want. It's a tremendous archive. There's over 900 videos. It gets 50,000 views a month. Please grow this station, that channel. Freedom First Films on YouTube. Truth Talk News. And then there's Truth Talk News Live, which is the archive of all these broadcasts. And I just started a new blog just 2 months ago. I'm getting already 4,000 hits, basically on a monthly basis, and I only started the blog really heavily going into it 2 months ago. So it's growing nicely. And that's truthtalknews.blogspot.com. I write articles. I have links to information. I'm not doing this for my health, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not doing this for fame or fortune or money or anything else. I'm just doing this to get the truth out. And next week, or maybe later in the week, well, actually on Wednesday, that would be September 10th, Janet Phelan will be my guest, and we'll be talking about some of the things I said before earlier on the broadcast, and going into the her book, and a couple of other things that we're working on. It should be a great broadcast. And I'll have Diana Sprouse, whose son Mark went through a horror, and he's still got horrors to deal with the legal system. But her and 2 other people, I'm having difficulty trying to get these people on air, but I'll at least have Diana, I know she confirmed, regarding the satanic ritual abuse of children. Now, Diana Sprouse's son, Mark, who's been through this horrific situation and railroaded by the court system, was unfortunately a victim of satanic ritual abuse by his father, who was a police officer, and that was Diana's husband. She didn't know about it. She didn't realize it till many years later, and he has passed away. Never charged, but passed away. And there's a lot of insight into this. Now, I've done a tremendous amount of research. In fact, recently, in the same Stearns County where they reside, or at least recently, because of the fact that Mark has been going through proceedings, I knew it was in Stearns County, Minnesota. They were looking back at these satanic ritual abuses and also what they called pedophilia. They just really call it pedophilia now in the media. Satan will never come up. Satan ritual abuse will never hear in their media. They call it pedophilia. Children's being abused, missing, murdered by people. And it happened in Stearns County. It was in the 80s. And recently there was a show on, I think it was on the History Channel, or maybe it was actually John Walsh. It was John Walsh. His new show, whatever that new show is that he has, I forget the name of it. And they don't talk about this satanic ritual abuse. And remember, John Walsh's son was decapitated. I mean, they don't go there for whatever reason. And he's a Christian, and it exists, ladies and gentlemen. It really does. And I'm going to continue exposing it. I know a lot about it. I know people that have experienced it, like this is what I'm dealing with here. And people become split. They get split personalities, and they become murderers. And it's all part of almost like, well, again, MK Ultra with the CIA. It's very similar as far as, these are all Luciferians. I know it's a lot of information in one broadcast to get out, and sometimes I think I push the envelope, but what can you do? I know too much. It's my burden. If you don't want to believe this, if you think that I'm just doing this to pontificate and to feed my ego, you got another thing coming, because I'm a hell of a better guitar player than a radio host, whatever you want to call this. I'm an American, and I know something that most people don't know, don't understand, and never really will. Even when you wake up, ladies and gentlemen. I still don't understand some things, and I know a lot. The demoralization of America over the last 20 years, and then 20 years before that, was discussed in the video by Yuri Bezmenov. Now we know the media controls everything. They don't report. That's why I do this show, Truth Talk News, where truth the mainstream media ignores is the top story, or where news the mainstream media ignores is the top story. Pick your tag. Obama lying, and get reelected. No critical thinking, zero critical thinking, no teaching of critical thinking in school. Common Core, cookie cutter education, dumbing down of the society. Saying about all our problems, well, we're not going to have a good workforce in 20 years because everyone's damn stupid because we're making them that way. And that's what it is. Well, we got to do something about that, but we're making it that way. So you're going to give us a whole bunch of fucking money so that we can make it that way. And we can just take all that money and buy yachts and stock in all the corporations on the up and up because, hey, if we're in Congress, we're insider trading doesn't apply to us. So we can go, wow, that's awesome. Nobody even said anything. Nobody even got mad when Congress said, well, we can go into insider trade. It's not against the law for Congress. Oh, yeah, all right. But if you and I do it, taxes, fraud, manipulation, prison. Wake the fuck up, people, man. I'm getting tired of this shit. I truly am getting fucking tired. Executive orders. Now we're going to have an executive order to to legalize illegal aliens, but we're going to wait till after the election to do that. Man, they were just, and they reported on the news. Oh, God in heaven, have mercy on this country. I'm losing my mind. I swear to God. Sometimes I feel like my whole life is a Twilight Zone episode, and I just want it one time. Where's the commercial break? You know? Did you ever wonder with your life? Did you ever think where's the commercial break, man? I don't have a commercial break. I need a commercial break. Where is it? No. You just keep going and going on that wheel, on that hamster wheel. I should go bring my hamsters in. My wife likes hamsters, whatever. Big ones, They're cute. They're sort of like rats, but with fur. It's really, anyway, whatever. Digressing. But yeah, get on that hamster wheel and spin. Just spin. Just don't ask any questions. Just spin. The more you spin, the more money you make. But I'm spinning real hard and I'm not making any more money. But keep spinning, you'll spin more. Oh, just keep spinning. Spin. And then we'll throw a couple of wrenches into the works, breaking down your car. Oh, I gotta pay that. Oh, then we'll you owe the IRS. Oh, and then wait a minute, you're disabled, but they won't accept your disability because they don't want to. What? Oh, you gotta go on welfare. No. Food stamps. 100 million people on food stamps and welfare of some kind. 47 million on welfare. 49 million on food stamps. Total of 100 million on welfare. Getting welfare payments. Corporations are leaving. People are leaving, but they're not allowed to leave. They have to pay a tax. They got to pay 30%. It's a mafia. And we're stuck here to deal with this. Are you going to deal with this? Are you going to just let it keep happening? You're going to wait? Listen, let me tell you something. If you're not affected by this yet, if you haven't felt it financially, And I don't know how anybody really couldn't, unless, of course, you're just on a hourly wage thing and you had no interruptions in your wages or your salary for the last 6 years or 7 years. It's possible. I'm sure there's actually there's probably a good bulk of people that this really hasn't affected at all. And that's the problem. But guess what? You're next. Oh, yeah, it's like a horror movie. You're next. That's right, they're going to come. They're going to, in the middle of the night when you're sleeping, take your pension money, take your 401k, lock you up, give you some bonds. That's right. They'll take all your money out of your bank account and give you a bond. Shh. It's okay, you'll get the money, but you gotta wait a little while. Maybe like 5-10 years. You can take out minimum payments for emergency expenses. Wake up, this is happening. Microchips. Oh, microchips aren't gonna expel. Oh, they don't expel. Oh. Microchips everywhere, man. It's coming. And the fucking credit cards, it's coming. They have machines. In fact, these communists have figured out a way that the whole world, if you don't have a type of machine that you need to process your credit card as a business owner, a special machine that accepts these things that they charge you a whole bunch of money for and all this other crap, that after October of 2015, if you swipe a card and like one of these terrorists get like the information and put fraud through your terminal for like 10 million bucks, you're responsible for the fraud. That's unbelievable, isn't it? Well, you got to welcome yourself to the New World Order, because here's where we are. I'm Howard Nima. Stay tuned for more Truth Talk News.
UN Agenda 21, bailouts, sellouts, Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs, false flag, terror attacks, Bill Gates, Henry Kissinger, New World Order mind control, Bank of America stealing homes with cut and paste mortgage loans, police, state, taser guns, FEMA camps, man to run, Monsanto rules the food supply while Big Pharma does your mind. Prison system, profiteers, foundations, fund the fears, fund the evil through the years. The world's not as it appears. Drug laundering thugs. Now the IRS takes money out of every single check. Money they create out of thin air and leave you with debt. They want to take your life. They want to take your land. They want to take everything that they possibly can.
illusions, man. None of it is true. You're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning here. You're beginning to think that the tube is reality and that your own lives are unreal. You do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like a tube. You eat like a tube. You raise your children like a tube. You even think like a tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion.
When we are successful, we will be. We have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
It's the need for a new world order, but it has different characteristics in different parts of the world.
And the President outlined his vision of a new world order in which the US would participate fully, one rooted on four basic principles. Non-proliferation of the sun.
None of it is true.